yeah, so I'm just back from a week away in Holland, and if you didn't see the short of the BMW Motorrad dealer in Eindhoven, I'd recommend you take a look at that because it's the best dealership for BMW I've ever been to. Anyway, all this week, all I've been thinking about is Barry and what we've got to do. So this weekend is probably, I think in terms of actual transformation, I would say, is going to be the biggest amount of work I'm going to have to do. I've got a whiteboard which I'll show you in a second, but we're going to hopefully try to achieve 4 major activities this weekend, with being able to answer some of the questions that I think have been on my mind. I've seen a lot online about taking off the shaft drive from the K100 and replacing it with an R1100S shaft drive. I'm interested to know how it mounts. If any of you have done this before, please pop it in the comments. But I think once we've got that off, we can compare it. Well, Fred can compare it to an R1100. He'll be able to steer me in the direction that will meet my need. I did email PowerBrick over in Holland, and they were super responsive. And they did say the shaft drive is plug and play as a replacement. Now, I imagine that to be the shaft being plug and play, but not necessarily the housing. So I'm interested to see what that looks like. I have I have picked the colours for where I'm going to go with the bike, so that's actually helps in terms of where we're going to go into in the design and the things that I've got to consider for the design based on those colours. Now, I'm a great believer that a custom piece of work should look as factory as possible, not necessarily stock, but factory. So hopefully some of my ideas, or all of my ideas, will translate in it to being as factory looking as possible. I am going to try something different today. I have got a 360 camera up there which will film, and I'll put it on speeded up mode for whipping some of this stuff off, so hopefully that'll be interesting. And I have got a lift finally. I bought a lift last week, so whilst it's very cumbersome and a little bit in the way, that'll make this next round of jobs infinitely more feasible. Now with that, let's have a look at the list of jobs that we hope to achieve this weekend. So we have 4 big tasks here, and I'll use my selfie stick as an indicator. So we have remove the front forks. Now these forks are being completely replaced. It's recommended to the S1000RR forks or the R9T forks. So whilst I'll do this as carefully as I can, it doesn't really matter because they're going to get chucked in the bin. Remove rear suspension. Again, it's going to get replaced, but I'll try to do it kindly. Shaft drive. Those 2 jobs are sort of intrinsically linked because they're on top of each other. And then whip the exhaust off. A lot of work. I am doing this with hopefully my engineering brain and no manual, so I can't see any particular challenges there, but they are famous last words, I reckon. The challenging thing about this handful of jobs I've got now, these are the sort of last of the 3 jobs, I suppose. Once we've got the major components whipped off, we're now looking at spending money and replacing it. I think my overall goal for the next couple of months, maybe till the end of the year, is to get this to a rolling chassis. That is frame cut and painted, forks, triple trees, and suspension. Big asks, a lot of money to be spent. Whether I can afford to do it in that timescale remains to be seen, but it's important to have a goal. And now, while I'm doing the rolling chassis, that gives Fred time, and me frankly, time to save the money to get the engine squared away. So first of all, I fancy an easier job to start with, so I'm going to take off the exhaust system, which I'm hoping will be fairly straightforward, and then we'll take off the rear shock, because they should be easy. Before we crack on, let's see what we've got. More corrosion. Hopefully we can get away with nothing snapping. Yes. I've got a selection of sockets here. Let's have a think. I reckon about that size. Nope. Let's have a look. Yes, let's give that a go. I've just noticed something quite interesting. Here we have a stud and a nut. And here it appears we have the head of a bolt. Perhaps showing battle scars of previous work. So I've just picked another header pipe at random, and to take the nut off, and the stud has come out as well. And the other thing that's interesting, I'm noticing I'm down here now, I don't know what this is meant to look like a stock, but let me show you. It's where the stand sits on the exhaust. If I just move this out here, we can see dents, a dent there from the center stand, and a dent there from the side stand. Now I can't imagine that's meant to be the case, because that's pretty shit. But anyway, let's continue with these headers. Also, actually, before I change angle, is it's interesting there's no clamps, whereas you'd have a separation between the headers and the end can, but it doesn't appear to be a clamp. So it's one section, and really, really skinny little header pipes, which are also peculiar. Anyway, let's crack on. Oh, and there we have it. The headers and the exhaust. There's one unit. It looks like some sort of friction fit. But let me show you the dents from the stands. Here, it would seem foolish not just to whip that bit off, because that gets that mount off as well. Awesome. And there we have it. There we have it, another piece removed. Surprisingly light, actually. Feels like a cast aluminium. And this bit is just plastic. But I won't be keeping any of these bits, so unfortunately these bits have had their time. But I have exposed the back wheel. I'll show you here. And I do love a single-sided swing arm when you can see something. Makes me wonder when I do an exhaust whether I should have it come up so we can see the wheel. But yeah, that's nice. You know what, while we're here, we could even take the back wheel off. Right, there's some big old bruises. Let's go and find something that will get them off. Chuck him into gear, lock the back wheel up. Oh, dearie me. He is on. I think we have to put a little bit of WD-40 on there and let that sit. I haven't got a breaker bar. As we're taking the other side of this off, we might as well take this one off as well. We're just left with all the brake housing. Right, there we go. The brake side. And I did cheat. I snipped the brake line. It's so corroded that it's just spinning. I don't need this brake line. And as I said at the beginning, most of this getting chucked. I don't need to take it apart as carefully as I am. There's maybe a couple of bits I'll probably keep, but most of all it's going in the bin. Particularly these rubber hoses, because they are well and truly past their best. But let me show you where we are. So we have got just that shock to take off, and then that shaft drive. I will take out that battery tray, which is disgusting. So one job I think it's really important to do between each major bit of work, and this comes from my time fixing aircraft, is to put your tools away after each job and then get them back out again. So I had the same tools out for the exhaust and removing the pegs, etc. I need slightly different tools to remove the shock absorber, and I just want to make sure that I've got everything and it's where I need it to be. Let's whip this shock off. 5-minute job, right? So what we got here, 19 mil. That seems a funny size. Let me just get a little extension. On the rear frame, it's technically a subframe I suppose, but it's, oh, see, and we just popped up, or the bottom sagged as it were. Nice. Let's get this bottom one off. And there we have it. Do not open. This has got some weight to it. Made in Germany. I wonder if the shocks on the new BMs are still made in Germany. Probably not. But there we go. The back end is exposed. And a sexy thing it is too. Right, I need another drink. So I'm gonna stop for 5 minutes and go grab one. The ECU out of its storage box, and I think just for the sake of my sanity I'm going to try and get that out because it's just too disgusting to look at. Wish me luck. Deliberately lazy with one thing, and my garage floor is currently looking like the floor of a Huey helicopter during Vietnam with empty shells, but I have just deposited all the nuts and bolts on the deck because they're all going in the bin. So we'll have a sweep up before we do the next bit. So, the WD-40 did its job, and we have a back wheel off. Progress is being made. Now I will say, this method of taking a bike apart without a book, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I'm desperately relying on my many years in the aircraft industry and taking stuff apart to hopefully have a degree of engineering common sense to be able to take this part in a safe way, but also in a way that makes logical sense.